Hey guys, welcome to Q&A with Chef A. This month's podcast for my amazing podcast subscribers, thank you very much for being here, is about serving cheeses. Of the Q&As that I get, wowzer, do I get a lot of questions about cheese service. And I get why. I think there are so many varieties and there's so many things to think about. And holy cow, those charcuterie boards that we're seeing all over social media, they're intense, right? So where do we even begin? So I did a cookbook corner over on the YouTube channel where I featured this guy's book, The Cheese Primer by Stephen Jenkins. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that particular cookbook corner, I recommend you do so if you're interested in some details about this book. I break down how this book functions and why it's useful for you as a home cook for sort of selecting the cheeses that you're interested in trying, maybe getting a little braver about branching out and trying some different ones, certainly getting some flavor profiles of ones that you're not familiar with, and then kind of reinforcing for the ones that you do love, are there other versions of them? You know, there's not just one cheddar, so who's producing the sharpest or the most aged or whatever it is that you're looking for in that cheese. This book will help you with a lot of that. But I'm going to break these pods as I do into maybe 3, and I'll keep them relatively short for you guys. And then you can shoot me any questions through the website at achefs.com if there's anything I didn't cover within these. But I just want to give you a quick overview of some things to consider when serving cheeses. So let's talk about the milk varietal and the country of origin. In another pod, we'll talk about what to serve with cheeses. And then in another pod, we'll talk about just kind of played up rules and ideas to consider for making them beautiful and how to get them out there. So right now, what I want to talk about are milk varietals and country of origin. So one thing that I think is really intriguing about serving cheeses, consuming cheeses, sharing about cheeses, and certainly selecting cheeses for a cheese platter or a cheese course or presentation, what we have to figure out kind of, you know, where are we going to pull what the likeness of these items together? What are we going to use to be the thing that sort of binds them all together so it's not super hodgepodge and kind of confusing? One simple trick is to just pick a milk varietal. And for those of you that aren't super brave cheese eaters, the concepts of eating sheep's milk cheeses and goat's milk cheeses might be a little out there, but I encourage you to try some cheeses made with different varieties of milk, because the milk varietal can do a lot to change the fat content and the flavor profile of a cheese. We have to remember that if cheese is made from an animal's milk, then what type of animal it is, where the animal lives its life, and what the animal eats will have a lot to do with how the ultimate cheese tastes, right? So what am I getting at there? For example, if I picked a sheep's milk cheese from the, let's say from the central Italian region, and what those sheep were really feasting on for the most part are like wild clovers and things that sort of naturally pop up in kind of craggly mountain systems where they sort of hang out. The milk that they produce is going to have a very distinct flavor profile. It may have a higher acid content or a lower acid content, may have a higher fat content or a lower fat content than sheeps that are grazing grasslands, let's say, up in the Scottish Highlands. And they're getting access to grasses, to sprouts, to wildflowers. And those aromatics will start to show up in their milk and provide a very different flavor profile. So one sheep is not another sheep. A sheep in Italy is not a sheep in Scotland. And they're all going to give us different milks that will produce different flavor profiles for our cheeses. And I think that's really fun. Okay. So if we're going to go with milk varietal, that's one way we could think of. Another thing you could do for determining how to serve cheeses or put together a cheese platter is just simply go by country of origin. So you can just do a collection of French cheeses. If you want to go specific within that, you could do a region of France and really hunt down 1 to 3 cheeses that come from a very specific part of France and just serve those. Likewise, you could do an American cheese tasting and you could show off artisanal cheesemakers from the Southeast, from the Northeast, and from maybe the West Coast. You could do all West Coast cheesemakers, because there are several out on our West Coast, or feature all Wisconsin cheeses, right? So you get where I'm going here, kind of pick a theme. A milk varietal is a good start. A country of origin is a good start, or even a region within a country is a nice way to go. So I hope that that gives you something to kind of chew on a little bit, because I think that those concepts make this really a lot of fun. I went and did some cheese shopping at my local supermarket. Like, seriously, I went to the grocery store. I just decided that I wanted to try to be as simple as I could. Now, what I said in my cheese primer cookbook corner, and what I'll say again now, is that my preference for you is that you find a small artisanal cheese shop, or if you have a specialty grocery store that has a really nice cheese department, go introduce yourself, make friends, and ask for samples and taste a few things and work it out together. Get bold, get brave, get in there. We're lucky out here that our local grocery store is stocking as well as they are. It's a pretty good selection of things, but there certainly is not a cheesemonger hanging out in my local grocery store ready to answer my questions or hand cut anything for me. So if you have that available to you, please, please, I very much encourage you to use that. If you live out here in the boondocks like me, I'm lucky that I even can find these things, but I did want to show you what was available just in a local supermarket as well, because it's pretty impressive in the grand scheme of things. It's a good variety. So I'm going to say that I'm going to play a game with service tonight that's going to be all about milk varietal. So what I'm going to treat my guests to are cheeses that are sheep's milk or goat's milk. Okay. Now it's fun because one thing I'll say about goat's milk cheeses is that often this guy, Chev, is, this white sort of chalky tube goat's milk. Most of us, when we haven't really moved into the world of milk varietals, when we hear goat's milk cheese, this is exactly what we assume is coming at us. You can make goat's milk mozzarella. You can make goat's milk anything, right? And I buy local goat's milk unpasteurized for making cheeses at home. And if you took a sip of that local unpasteurized goat's milk next to cow's milk, to me, they're indiscernible. So goat's milk does not make tubes of Chev. That's a process that uses goat's milk to get here, but goat's milk doesn't just make this. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So if I'm going to do a little milk varietal tasting for my friends and feature goat and sheep, here's a couple things I found just at my local grocery store. So I found a goat milk mozzarella, and I left the price on it because I wasn't trying to be cheesy. Just so you get an idea of price range. This was $7.49. So this one is about half a pound. So this one's about $16 a pound, something like that. And so this is a goat's milk mozzarella, mild, creamy, and fresh, made with goat milk by a family-owned local dairy, and it is a Wisconsin cheese product. So that could be the first of my little trio of cheeses. And then I found a nice little wedge of protected designation of origin. We've talked about this a little bit. Sorry, the light's going funny in here. I'll close that blind. I think I got some traffic back here. I'm out in the store again today, just because it's just finally cooler out here and it's quiet. We talked a little bit about, I think in the cheese primer also, the name-controlled cheeses. So cheeses that are protected by the country of origin, and protected means that if I call it this, it must come from this milk varietal, produced in this way, and in this specific region. So name-protected cheeses. I found a Pecorino Romano that is a protected designation of origin. So this is not going to be the most amazing quality Pecorino Romano. It was surely produced under all the standards of Pecorino Romano, but for export to the US. But it's still kind of exciting to see that it's even available. And what I like about this one is Pecorino Romano, basically, you guys, is sheep's milk Parmigiano Reggiano. So it feels very much like Parmigiano Reggiano. It grates and it functions in recipes identically to Parmigiano Reggiano, but its flavor profile is a little different because it is sheep's milk, not cow's milk. So for my little trio, here's a goat milk mozzarella. And then I throw in a little Pecorino Romano to say, here's a little goat, here's a little sheep. And look what I found as item number 3 to tie them all together. A Spanish Iberico, and this particular one is a combo of goat, cow, and sheep. So it's all 3. Now that's a cool way to put together a little cheese plate, whether it be an appetizer or if that's just going to be the cheese component of a charcuterie board, you're also going to add some fruits and some nuts and some dried cured meats in there, but you needed a few cheeses. And what do you do to bring them all together? So I went milk varietal, and even within milk varietal, I didn't just do all goat, which I surely could have, or all sheep. I did a sheep, a goat, and then a trio, cow, sheep, goat. So fun ways to think about pulling cheeses together. So milk varietal, and then as I said, country of origin or region. The cheeses that come out of small dairies on the West Coast, I'm particularly in my head right now thinking about like the Cowgirl Creamery and Humboldt Fogg's Creamery. There's a few amazing ones out there. Sweetgrass Dairy is here in my home state of Georgia, right at the Georgia-Florida border. Sort of in the middle of Georgia, down by the border at Thomasville, I believe is where it is. They do some really cool cheeses too. So our American producers are making some amazing small batch artisanal cheeses. I hope that you'll do some research and check those out. And I will say Steve Jenkins does cover some of those in here. There's some good U.S. cheeses covered in here, at least a good starting point. But these days, you know, type in best American cheeses and see what shows up. So there we go. Region of origin, country of origin, or milk varietal. Those are good ways to branch out and try something new for yourself, serve something new to your guests, or just find some continuity of how to put together a 3 to 5 cheese course pairing. All right. I hope that was helpful. And our next pod, we're going to be talking about what to serve with cheeses. So I'm talking about beverages that pair with cheeses. And then I'll also do one just on a few tips from my catering days about kind of plating up and actually serving cheeses. All right, guys, I hope you're having a delicious day. Thank you so much for my podcast subscribers for being a part of this wonderful experience. I am absolutely loving it. I hope you are too. And send me your questions. Looking forward to next time, Q&A with Chef A.